Can you ballpark how much you made writing?
I know because I was sued. One song I made like $5 million on one song. That's not even the little ones.
One record?
Because I own 100%. It's 200%. It's weird in publishing. They call it 200%. It's like 100% this side and 100% that. So 100% publisher, 100% writer. Not only do I own my writing, I own my publishing too. Which, would put me in bad situations where people sometimes wouldn't want to pay me because I'm not a big publishing company, But I have a secret weapon by the name of Teedra Moses, who's my sister, and she gonna get that money, So my sister learned how to administer publishing, so we didn't have to pay somebody else to administer publishing, So we just kind of like, we made good money. My sister was making good money.
You made 5 on one song?
One record, yeah.
Is there another song that's close? That was...
Dip It Low.
Is there another...
And that was before the lawsuit.
The Toure Show. Okay, though. The Toure Show. Okay, though.
That might be the best question I've ever been asked.
You're a phenomenal person. I mean, you legendary.
I am a fan of you, my brother.
Teedra Moses is an amazing singer. She got an incredible album called Complex Simplicity from 20 years ago that people are still listening to. Let's get into it. I want to talk to her about music and making it and why she loves being black so much. Let's get into it. It's Teedra Moses on Touré Show. Teedra.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm very blessed.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
How are you?
I'm full of joy and gratitude.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. On an upswing.
Yeah.
Tell me about doing Tiny Desk, because the show asks you to change up, right? Like this is an acoustic set, right?
Yes.
As opposed to, so we have to do some rearranging, we have to do a little rethinking. And
we only have so much time.
And so much time and so much physical space. So just talk about, as an artist, you get this invitation. Okay, now we have some work to. It's not like if you were doing Colbert, you just show up and do your song. Mm-hmm. But the Tiny Desk asks you to switch up.
Well, basically what they give you is just a certain amount of time. I was invited by DJ Cousin B. He says, he hits me a year ago and he goes, do you want to celebrate 20 years of Complex Simplicity on Tiny Desk? Sure, let's do it. So we decided we're going to do it. And at that point, I said, well, let's do a whole tour to lead into the Tiny Desk, okay? And so I go to my guy, Darian Javon. He puts together a great show for my tour. Duran Bernard comes, and once he finds out, because he's so excited I'm doing Tiny Desk, he had done it already. So he was like my guru, So he gets me together and he says, okay, you only have this much time. And so we take what we already have and we start to condense it down. So I kind of had an advantage because I was already out on tour. I was already doing it with these same people every night with the exception of Duran. And he had already been there, so he kind of understood. And so we just condensed it down. We took like... the more media parts and left them in there and condensed certain songs and tried to fit as much as we could in without it being rushed and feeling like it wasn't just a flow. And it wasn't that hard to get to that space.
It sounded like you talk about reducing. Like Rick Rubin, when he produced the early Def Jam records, he was like reducing. Like just how much can we take out and it still be what it's supposed to be?
Exactly.
That's what you're thinking about.
Exactly. And that's what we did. We rehearsed for a couple of days, but like I said, we had already been on the road. And I think to me, rehearsal to me is not about so much knowing the records, knowing the parts. It's about the chemistry of the people that are playing together. I think that's, to me, what rehearsal is more about. Our chemistry was locked in by this time because we had been doing this on the tour. Yeah. So it turned out
interesting. So, I mean, for rehearsal, for preparation, the chemistry of the folks is more important because everybody is a sharp musician. Yeah. I got the part. I know where I'm supposed to come in. But that we have a bond, that we actually like each other.
Yeah, we're joking during rehearsal breaks. We're out smoking weed together. Like it's like the camaraderie that makes the stage performance even better.
So you're not just rehearsing when you're playing. You are rehearsing when we're just hanging out and creating the bonds.
Exactly. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's super important.
To me. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So New Orleans.
Yes.
is, where you're from, incredible music town in one of America's greatest music towns. Talk about the impact that New Orleans had on you in creating you as a musician.
I left New Orleans when I was 14. I think that most of what you become in life is those early years, right? And then you kind of like, that's your base and you kind of build off of that or you shave off of that, right? And I went to an all-black school by the name of St. Joan of Arc in the Carrollton area of New Orleans. And I went there from 3rd grade to 8th grade. Shortly after that, I left to go to California. Every day of my life, home and school, was full of music. So if I'm at home, we had a radio that went up and down but never went off on WYLD, which played R&B music, soulful music, right?
Like who are the people you remember from WYLD?
From WYLD, specifically, I remember Shirley Murdoch.
Okay.
Because I remember thinking, why didn't she get a Grammy? Not understanding how that worked back then because I thought she was such an amazing singer. And I remember, I don't even know what this guy's name, but he used to sing Starship. It was one of my favorite songs on the radio. Anita Baker, these, what's her name? What's our white soul sister? Tina Marie.
Tina Marie.
These voices, because I grew up early on before I left, like my 5, 6, when I'm starting to remember music. That's Tina Marie.
You get Teddy Pendergrass
Teddy Pendergrass was in there, but that didn't catch me. It's like the Princes and the...
Prince caught you.
Yeah, these things caught me. Like the 80s R&B female singers, any type of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis production.
Tony Braxton?
Tony Braxton was more when I got to LA.
Okay.
But definitely like Sherelle and, the early, late 80s.
So you liked Alexander O'Neal.
Alexander O'Neal. I was just trying to get him to my brain to come out. Yeah.
Yes.
Anything Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, early Janet, all this stuff.
Morris Day.
Morris Day, that whole, first of all, Minneapolis had something in the water, just like Virginia. Yes, so like those things were coming out. And then you have school, where I went to this private school, Catholic school, which New Orleans is a very big Catholic city. And we had lots of predominantly black, not even predominantly, all black Catholic schools. And I went to a school by St. Joan of Arc, and we had a music teacher by the name of Miss Chatters. And she would teach us, she would make every class a choir. And she would make you sing, give you your parts and all this thing. And I really, really wanted to tell her the last time when she was alive, while she was there, that she helped me find my voice, because she was a pretty woman that could really sing. And that was interesting to me. Even though my mother can sing, that's my mom. This is a pretty young woman that can sing, and she does it so well. And so even though she's singing gospel, it's like sensual to me, And it was really beautiful. And this is my experience growing up in New Orleans. If you're walking down the street, you probably hear somebody playing a horn out of their house,
Right.
You hear...
So wait, she was the one who you said, oh, I could be a young woman, because I see myself as a girl, and I see my mom as impossibly old relative to me.
And by this time, she doesn't have her voice anymore. She lost her voice.
Okay, but then this woman is like, I can see her, I am like growing to be her, and I could be like that.
I could be like that, yeah.
Wow.
Her whole family was, and that's another thing in New Orleans. You have families known for music, like, the Marcelluses, the Chatters,
Iconics.
The Baptiste, like John Baptiste, he come from a musical family, you know what I mean?
I went to college and was friends with Monique Morial, who's became a judge, and her father was mayor, and her brother was mayor, and I think her nephew became mayor, and like, I just knew her, and then slowly you're like, oh,
they're a family.
The Morials like run New Orleans,
exactly.
But there's lots of family dynastic stuff in New Orleans.
Kind of like the Caribbean islands. It's like a class thing. You know what I mean? It's like, who's your people? That's what people ask. Who's your people? Oh, my people. You know what I mean? It's like you're a part. You're not just an individual. I have friends that say, I didn't do certain things growing up because I knew I represented my family. You know what I mean? And you can't put smut on your family's name. You have to. This is a big deal in New Orleans, kind of like the Caribbean islands. I really do feel like we just didn't break off into the island.
I feel like that too when I'm there. That this is the most Caribbean part of America. Yeah. Right? Like we're kind of at the islands, kind of, it's a really amazing, just the vibe.
Yeah. And like the Caribbean, New Orleans has held on to African practices more than a lot of other cities.
I watched Treme, and I was really moved by. You watched Treme, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't say anything.
No, I did. I loved it.
And the refrain was, "How's your house?" Right. So they would reconnect through the restaurant or on the street or whatever. How you doing? Da da da. And then, how's your house? And different people had different answers, but like everybody keeps asking that question, and it's kind of a deep sort of moment of how, like, you know, this entire world was affected in that way.
And is every hurricane season. There's a trauma in New Orleans because I left. I wasn't there for Katrina. I was already in California. But now I'm back. I have a home there now. And it's a trauma every season. It breaks my heart because it's a trauma every season. You can hear it in, oh, this is gonna be a bad hurricane season because the weather was this and blah blah blah. Or there's a storm coming. It's Category 2 now, and we're gonna, it's just
So
so
they think it's
much
gonna happen again.
So much pressure, so much. It's very sad to see, and I don't think they're even aware of it. But I believe in energy coming together, and I think if we all think it's going to be bad, then it's probably going to be bad. If we all calm down and maybe calm down, that's kind of how I see it. But they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They've been through it, They've been through it, and it's a trauma that comes up every hurricane season.
I feel like your voice is changing a little now that we're talking about New
It
Orleans
does.
so much.
It does. When I go home, I talk like that. When I'm in LA, I talk this way. It does. And when I'm around people, it's like Jamaicans,
Yes,
when they're around
yes.
Jamaicans, you can hear the patois come. You don't understand what the hell they're saying,
No, it's
Same
so
way.
beautiful, and I don't understand it. So wait, talk about Mom's influence, because Mom's a gospel singer.
Yes.
Is she your first teacher?
By the time I was old enough to really pay attention and she couldn't sing anymore. When I was really little, I remember her singing in the church, but I didn't get to hear as much of my mom singing because she stripped her vocal cords somewhere around when I was about 8, maybe, somewhere around there. But she would constantly we would have to go and wait for my dad. We would have to pick him up from my uncle's automotive shop. That was like their hangout. And we would sit there waiting. My dad was like not very considerate of the fact that we were sitting in the car waiting. And my mother was one of those women who just would sit and wait. Like I would have drove off, but my mother would sit there and wait. And she would have all us in the car and we coming from school. And she would just start, to the best of her ability, with strip vocal cords, giving us our parts to sing together. Because she kind of wanted us to be like Jackson 5 or DeBarge or what was that? The Jets or somebody, you know what I mean?
Staple singer?
Yeah, she wanted those kind of things. And so she would give us our parts and teach us how to harmonize. She would explain to us which instruments were what on the, she kind of infused these things into us without us really not noticing her intention. And before I wanted to become a singer, she would say, Teedra, don't get all those cavities in your mouth, because when the girls are on TV and they're singing and opening their mouth, it's all that black, nasty stuff or silver in there. Don't do that. Take care of your teeth. So when you open, Touré, I had no desire to do anything. I wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. I didn't know what this lady was talking about. But I think that goes to show you that parents see things in their children.
Why'd you move to LA?
My mother left my father. And I said, Mom, we can't just move to the east
Was
side.
she escaping? Or
I think she was.
Did he know that she's leaving? Or
No,
like,
he did.
oh, so it's like midnight, we're out?
It was the daytime, but she left my father and we said, Mom, why you can't just move to the east, New Orleans East? She said, because your dad will kill us. But I don't think he really would have killed us. But my mother was one of those ones, she didn't like sugarcoat anything. And my auntie Mona, may she rest in peace, she died in 2022, late 2022. And she used to tell me every time I would come home and I sit and talk to her because I love talking to my auntie. And she would say, girl, I will never forget when your daddy called me, Mona, have you seen Shirley? Have you seen Shirley? Because I think the house got robbed. I haven't seen the kids. I think somebody robbed me. All they left was the microwave.
Oh, so he really had no idea.
He had no idea. He had no idea. The man was crazy.
I'm sorry. Well, wait, what had happened that made that need to happen?
My father was abusive, and I think from me understanding now that he probably cheated and stuff too. But she wasn't happy. She was very, very unhappy, like breakdowns. Breakdowns. My mother she would get so overwhelmed that she would like just kind of like drop on the floor and just, like really overwhelmed. Really, really overwhelmed. She was she had 4 children with a man that was abusive and dismissive. And it was time to go.
What number are you?
I'm sorry.
Of the kids?
I'm in the middle. I'm the third child, and it's 4 of us.
When did you start to say, "Oh, I could sing well enough that I could make a run at it. I could try to sing professionally"?
When I was doing wardrobe styling, and my children's father is a rapper by the name of Raz Kaz, and he was around it all the time. And I just never really thought I could sing because I grew up in Southern Baptist Church where people belt out singing, and they were very powerful. Like, people sing like Jasmine Sullivan in my church. You know what I mean? So
And that wasn't you.
That wasn't me. You know, that wasn't me. I had this sweet little voice. And so at this point, I'm working with my best friend, Nanja McKenzie, who's a wardrobe stylist. My children's father, he's a rapper, and he has his thing. She has her thing. I'm just working with her because she's my friend, and I'm excited about her thing, but it's really her thing, and I'm making money doing it. We're making pretty good money, and we're traveling all over the world, but it's not my thing. So then I had to get to a point like, what do I love? And I love music. And so I just took a shot at it. My children's father and I fell out for reasons that were, we couldn't get back together. And I asked him, could he introduce me to some producers? And he introduced me to Paul Pauly, and we went from there. But it wasn't like, I can do this. It was like, I'm going to try. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to try.
I feel like soul music is a culture, right? And it's who you are. Mm-hmm. And hip hop is a culture, and it's who you are. And to me, in a way, like a rapper and a singer and you're a singer before you're a professional singer, right? You are a soul music person before you. So to that combination, I'm like, how does that work? Of this person who's like, he is hip hop and you are soul music. Yeah. And so how does that connect?
The beautiful thing about it is, I will say this, of all the things that didn't work with Raz and I, we made beautiful children, number one, who are also really great artists on their own. They're in a group called Coast Contra. And he gave me, outside of the ear I picked up from New Orleans and growing up with Black music, like Black music from gospel to jazz. I grew up with Black music. When I first met Raz, he taught me about Depeche Mode. But at the same time, I would go with him to the jazz spot in Leimert Park, and we would sit there all day listening to albums for him to find samples. Then he would go to this place and dig in the crates to find records, and then we'd go back to his house, and then we would just listen. And he really trained my ear. But then at the same time, he introduced me to Nas and Snoop Dogg's first album, which is stuff I probably wouldn't have listened to on my own, and Big L and all this stuff that I probably wouldn't listen to. So he gave me ear. And I think that it helped me as an artist a lot. And at the time, I don't know if I was an influence to him in music because he was already doing his thing, you know what I mean? But he was pouring into me. And I think that was the benefit of having like the rapper boyfriend.
Interesting.
That kind of rapper boyfriend.
Right. No, I love how your ear is being trained because he's just sitting there all day looking for samples, not just from
I love him so much, I just want to be with him.
Of course, and not just from the soul music but we sample from everywhere. And so you are getting to learn and hear all these different things that you had not. So he opened your musical world up. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah, he did. Thanks, Raz.
It's Complex Simplicity is such an amazing title. 20 years? Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How does the title relate to what we get musically?
I think that the sound of my first project, was far more sophisticated than I was at the time.
Okay.
And I think that was the complex simplicity in the sound. I mean, if it was up to me, I would have just jacked beats and sang over hip hop records. You know what I mean? Because that's what I really enjoyed.
You would have done a Mary J. Blige kind of thing?
I was doing a Mary J. Blige type of thing in my mind, even though a song that really was the basis of the creation of the sound of Complex Simplicity was Aaliyah's Rock the Boat, because it had that, like, I love 80s. I love the 80s sound, and it had that 80s sound, and I wanted that sound throughout, but I also loved hip-hop so much. By this time, I'm, like, really, really in love with hip-hop. And so in my mind, I was doing the Mary J. Blige thing, but it was Not that Mary is not sophisticated, extremely, always have been very sophisticated,
Sure.
but it was more directly from the hood. I think what I was doing was a little bit more polished than I actually was at the time. And to me, that was the complex simplicity of the sound. But if you listen to what I'm saying, clearly I was a young woman from an urban area,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And went through struggles from, if you listen to what I was saying on it. And my life at that time is really where the name came from. It was less of the records I was making, but the struggle that I was in. And I kept telling myself that life is simple, but we complicate it.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to figure out, how do I simplify it in here, because I know it's black and white. I don't care what anybody says, that gray is bullshit. I knew this as a young person, it's black and white, but I'm complicating it somewhere in here. And it took me a long time to figure it out. But a good start was getting out these emotions on this album. And I will never forget Paul Pauly, who executive produced it with me and produced most of the records on there. We were sitting on my balcony at my house, on my patio at my house one time, and drinking some red wine, just talking. I was like, it's like, it's simple, but it's complex. It's like, it's complexities, but I keep saying these words. He was like, it's complex simplicity. And then we decided right then and there that's what the name of the album was, because I was really just talking about life. I wasn't really talking about the music. But when I look at the music, I can hear all those things within it.
Sometimes when we look back at art that we made a while ago, we get critical of it because we have grown and changed. And we're not. So do you look back on it and be like, it's still the way that I would do it? Or I'm like, I would do it a little bit differently now.
No, I think I didn't like it at first. I think I love it now.
You didn't like your
I
album
didn't like
at
it. No, I
first?
thought it was okay.
When it was released, you didn't love it?
By the time it was released, I had started to like it a little bit more. I was just heavily critical of myself. And it was probably my insecurities that stopped me from liking it, because I just didn't think I was good enough. I just didn't think I was good enough. This is my first time. You have to understand, Touré, I didn't do jam sessions and, fight hard to get a deal and go out here and work with all different producers. I met a producer, we made records, and then we put out it. The very first song I ever wrote in my life and recorded and arranged and sang was on that album, So it was like no pre-work before that. So I think it was a high level of insecurity was why I didn't like it, not because it wasn't good. And now in retrospect, and as time has gone on, I listen back and I'm very proud of myself because it was way better than I thought it was.
Yeah. Well, that sounds...
So I guess I'm reversed than what
No,
most
but it
people.
sounds hard. It sounds hard. I mean, what do they say? Like, the first album is based on like everything you've ever thought and experienced up until that time.
Yeah.
And then the second album is the period between the first album and the second album, which is why
Not a lot.
sometimes you get a sophomore slump or whatever. But you were still a developing musician at every level.
I was a baby.
As you're making this album.
Yeah. Definitely.
You're building the plane as you fly it.
Yes. And with not a lot of, well, I guess I did have courage, but not a lot of security.
Well, that's an interesting point because you're on TVT, which I remember, small label, but it had a couple other people that popped off. But then the label goes bankrupt.
Yes.
I don't...
In 2008.
How? Why? How? How did...
That's Steve Gottlieb's business. I don't really know. I just know that it did. And maybe it was, because I remember it was Koch was the number one and TVT was like the number 2 indie label. And this is, Touré, that wasn't a woohoo indie time. It was like
it was
indie.
rough.
Yeah, it was like indie.
scraping.
And so I don't know if maybe they moved too fast, because TVT started, it's called TV Tunes because the owner had publishing on a lot of the different shows, the theme songs, which was lucrative because these shows are playing constantly over and over. And I don't know what happened. I can't tell you what happened.
Tell me how it affected you. Like, how do you learn this information and then how do you see, like, this is the impact it has on me?
Well, I already had my hand raised. I was trying to get out of there. You see what I'm saying?
Because you knew things were not going in the right direction.
Well, I just realized that I don't think I was ever meant, I think TVT was the best place for me. Because if I was on a bigger label, they probably would have just dropped me before the album came out. Because I'm not, I don't know. I like to do what I want to do. Not in a way like I'm defiant. Yeah. It's just like I'm not easily controlled for reasons that don't make sense, I'm gonna listen when it makes sense. But when it doesn't make sense, like I'm not gonna listen. And I know who I am. And as much as I may have had insecurities, I understood who I was. I tore all my hair out when I first started because I wasn't gonna wear a weave because I already had hair. You know, it was these things that I just would stick to. And I think that TVT was the perfect place for me to start. And then when we got to the place of them going defunct, I did want to go to another label. And for a second, I thought about going to another label. But I wasn't going to take the halt of going to another label and finding a new label. I was going to just keep going. I have an album that's not highly publicized. You know, I've been on that label for 4 years. The album came out maybe 2 years or 3 years before it went defunct. And so what do I know how to do? I know how to perform. Or if I don't, I'm about to learn. So I'm going on the road now. I performed that album for years and years, and then I started to make mixtapes. And so it really put me back into artist development.
Okay.
The label going defunct put me back into artist development. Now I'm on the road. I'm perfecting, how to rock these shows. I'm making mixtapes. But because I don't feel secure enough to say, I'm making original songs, but I don't feel secure enough to say this is an album. Plus, I don't have the money to mix and master them because it wasn't that cheap back then, you know? So I'm just now making mixtapes. I'm an R&B artist.
But you're giving away the mixtapes.
I'm first giving away the mixtapes because that was how we did it back then.
So you were a touring artist. That's how you were.
I was touring.
'Cause you didn't have a record deal.
I did not.
Right, so we made our money touring.
Yeah, made my money touring and selling the mixtapes when I had them, you know? Yeah. And writing for other people because I started writing for others as well.
I mean, wait, how long is it between Complex Simplicity and your second album?
Oh, the second album came out in 10 years, yeah. 11 years.
You know, folks don't realize, why did Teedra have this big album, this beloved album here, and then she doesn't do anything for 10? Well, it's not her fault. The label fell apart. The label went bankrupt, and then she's trying to figure out her life, and then she's trying to figure out what next label to get to.
Yeah.
And that takes...
raise kids in between all that.
And raise
by
kids.
myself.
How old are your kids when the label goes bankrupt?
8, 9, 10. Somewhere around 10, 11.
Wow. So you're really going through it there.
Yeah. And but I was blessed because, like I said, I started writing for other people and I had a record that popped off that kind of gave me money to invest in myself a bit.
That?
That was Dip It Low from Christina Milian. And so that kind of gave me, and I had other records too that you can put that smaller money with the bigger money. So it was holding me down. But then I got sued.
Right.
And so I got sued for the Dip It Low record, which I didn't have anything to do with the music part, but Paul Pauly and I did that record and we were sued, and that took a lot of finances. And so, you know, now you're losing homes and all these different things. But I think ultimately through that whole process, I became a much better artist. I mean, I just started to really, when you don't have anything, you lean on what you do have. And I had talent, so I just started going into that, you know.
You had a period when you went with Rick Ross.
Yes.
How did that come about, and how did that feel? That wasn't that long.
Yeah, well, I moved to Miami because that was in a time when I was losing everything. So my house in LA, it was too expensive. And so I had to just let that go. Y'all can have that, do what you will with it. I can't take it. So I moved to Miami where I had a place there as well. Now that's where I live and in New Orleans. And Rick Ross was like, he reached out to me on Twitter and he was like, yo, I heard you live here now. Come by the house.
Is it DM or a straight up?
DM, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's like, come by the house. And I realized he was like 20 minutes away. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna come over there now. Went over there, and this is when he was putting together Maybach Music. He had Meek Mill, Wale, and then he says, just change. I remember him saying this specifically. He goes, just change your, what is it that you do in the, like in your social media, you know, your description. He says, just put MMG, you know, your bio. Change your bio, MMG. And I was like, okay, cool. But we never technically signed anything, or I was never technically signed to him. I was never on MMG.
Oh.
Yeah. I just kind of just started singing on their records. And listen, Touré at the time, it was helpful.
It was helpful, yeah.
Yeah, he was the first person ever even said my name on MTV. And I had been out for I don't know how long, you know, so it was like a thing that just brought attention to what I was doing.
But then that didn't become, like, it seems like there's a string of like music industry things that have nothing to do with you that keep getting in the way of you, like, I just want to make a record and put it out to people. And like, did this, the bankruptcy, the lawsuit, the MMG comes and goes, and there's another label situation?
Yeah, we did Shanachie with the which is a very indie a label that was distributing through it's called Monarch now, but it was called E1 at the time. And we did that project, but I honestly, don't cry for me, Argentina, because I have no qualms with any of that. You know how you have people and you see their name and then you see all their publishing and you see all these things behind it? Like, I think me getting a label was just as hard as me getting a boyfriend. I don't attach to people that easy. Like, we had conversations with MMG. There was no negotiation, and I'm not gonna give up my publishing. There certain conversations with certain people. Well, yeah, I don't do 360s. You know what I mean? Like, these were choices.
Does that make it harder for you to get a deal when you're like, no 360s, no publishing? And that alone is going to make people not want it.
I've built this publishing before you came along. You're not helping me build my publishing. And I built my stage show and these people coming out to see me before you came along. So I made a choice to not do that. Yeah.
But that limits your possibilities.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'd rather be here where I am than somewhere doing it in a space where I'm not getting what I deserve.
Well, is it that I refuse to entertain any 360, or you are not offering me enough money?
I don't want to sell this is mine. It's for me, it's for my children, it's for my children's children. It's ours. It comes from here.
Who told you, like, don't ever?
Razcast.
He told you don't ever let go of your publishing?
Listen,
no matter what.
I want to say this on your show, too, because people have heard me say things about Raz where it makes it seem like we're not cool. We're really cool, but this is the main thing. He did piss me off not helping me take care of those kids. I was very mad about it. But he gave me tools. Do you understand what I'm saying? In retrospect, now that we're older, I look at it and I thank him so much for saying, don't sell your publishing. It saved me millions of times over. I remember being without a place to live and then $300,000 coming through. And then coming through every 3 months. Do you know what I mean? I remember what my publishing did for me because this man told me I messed up. Don't sell your publishing. And he also told me, don't let them tell you this is how it goes. And I never let them tell me this is how it goes. I would leave before I would go along with how it goes. And I would suffer to just own myself because I've seen what it does. At any time, I mean, look at Be Your Girl. Be Your Girl was just a regular Be Your Girl. It was doing fine. Katra now comes on. Now it's that, and you just don't know what can happen. But if you own it, whatever happens, it's on you. You know what I mean? So I thank him for that.
If you made more from songs you wrote or songs you cut?
Definitely songs I wrote originally. Yeah. But then that started getting annoying to me too because shopping songs is just like a headache.
Is it?
Yeah, because I also was in the early 2000s. Now, you had the girls that were singing. Right. You definitely had girls in the early 2000s singing. But then we had pretty girls that just were pretty.
That's right.
And they just wanted the pretty girls to sing.
MTV.
Right.
BET.
Right. Yeah, and so they would get these songs, oh, Teedra, this is amazing, right? Because you like hearing me sing it because I can sing. But then you take it to your girl who is super cute girl, super cute. But when it's time for her to sing this song, she's not singing it now. Oh, the song is bad. And it's like, I'm not going to do this because you know what, Touré? That tears away at your chops because now you're starting to simplify what you're doing to try to place these songs. So I quit. I stopped writing.
Oh, you have to dumb yourself down to the level of the client, the potential client, but that's limiting you as an artist.
Yeah. And I chose me as an artist. And I just never stopped. And I went through it because I was making money writing. But it was just like, no, I don't want to be whack. I'd rather be really good and just keep believing in myself till I get there than to just conform to this mediocrity that y'all got going over here. And I become it. Picture the day I become that, I'd much rather just struggle to be really great. Maybe one day some people will see that.
I love that. I love that attitude.
Thank you.
I love that. Can you ballpark how much you made writing?
I know because I was sued. One song I made $5 million on one song. That's not even the little ones.
One record?
Because I own 100%. It's 200%. it's weird in publishing. They call it 200%. It's like 100% this side and 100% that. So 100% publisher, 100% writer. Not only do I own my writing, I own my publishing too, which, you know, would put me in bad situations where people sometimes would want to pay me because I'm not a big publishing company, you know, but I have a secret weapon by the name of Teedra Moses, who's my sister, and she gonna get that money, you know? So my sister learned how to administer publishing. So we didn't have to pay somebody else to administer publishing, you know? So we just kind of like, we made good money. My sister was making good money.
You made 5 on one song?
One record, yeah.
Is there another song that's close? That was...
Dip Below.
Is there another...
And that was before the lawsuit. You know, that was before the lawsuit.
Is there another song that's close to that for you?
But Your Girl does really well, the K-Tronada mix. But it's in a different time. Because if it was in the same time as when we were doing hard copies.
Streaming era now.
Yeah.
So
but it does really well for streaming. So just imagine what it would do.
But we're hearing, how many millions did that one make?
You said what?
How many millions did that one make?
A lot.
A lot? More than, it's your number 2 record.
It's number 2, yeah.
So it's like 3, 4?
We're somewhere like 2, 3. Wow. Mm. And still going.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. They always say people in the music business are either richer than you would imagine or poorer than you would expect.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that then when you think about my overhead for making music, traveling with a band, I don't have any support. So I exhaust. I mean, God forgive me, but I would like not pay my bills to pay for music. Do you know what I mean? I would struggle to not have to suffer to not make music. Like I would continue to. I mean, when we started out, it wasn't studio at your house. It was $1,500 a day. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I invested a lot in myself. So my overhead, until this day, my overhead is not my personal overhead. My business overhead is pretty high.
How many shows a year do you try to do? Do you want to do?
I stopped in 2020 and just was chilling. That's when I realized I was making decent money on publishing because I wasn't making show money anymore. So that's when I realized, okay, publishing is doing pretty good so I can handle my life. But before that, we didn't tour like that. We spot dated, right? So probably doing like between 3 and 6 shows a month.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
all year.
Okay.
Between 3 and 6 shows a month. Maybe more. It's according to the month. It's according to the time. It's according to what I have out at the time. Because you have to understand this cult following I have, they get into these mixtapes. It may not be bigly, widely publicized, but the cult fans, they're at these shows. They're, in different places around the world. I have certain cities that I get it off in those cities,
I miss mixtapes.
I do too.
There was an era when it was a big part of the culture.
Yeah.
And artists, singers and rappers especially, would show you a different side of themselves. They would try a different pattern, or they would try a different vocal tone, or they would come a different character or persona, whatever, more aggressive or more tender or vulnerable than you do. And I'm like, yo, that is so exciting. And I'm really excited about what you did there musically. And then but you can't have that world in the world of social media.
I don't know why. We did it first.
I feel like
social media was around when we had our mixtapes. It just wasn't as big.
It doesn't as big. I feel like the mixtapes felt like this is underground. You got to know where to get it. We don't promote it. So this is like the hardcore fan. And if you should make a mistake in some way, the hardcore fans are like, I still love you, and I'm glad you tried. And now that record would go, somebody would put it on Twitter, Instagram, whatever.
SoundCloud, yeah.
A larger audience hears it. Like, that wasn't supposed to be for 1 million people. That was supposed to be for 100,000 hardcore people, not like a...
And that was the blog era. So the blogs would talk about it. That's what really pushed the mixtapes. Mm-hmm. That's how I would have a mixtape out, and that's how I would find out about other artists, because they would talk about somebody else that I didn't know about. I miss, more than the mixtape era, I miss the blog era, because the blog era gave you the information.
What were your blogs that you loved?
I don't even remember, because they just used to be there. Like That Grape Juice from the UK. They were big on music. What's another one? I Got Soul was a great R&B one.
I like the ones that would give you links
Yeah,
to
they
songs.
would give you links.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm on new shit that everyone else is
Now
not
you gotta really
hearing.
go figure it out.
Yes.
I follow like on Instagram and stuff like that. I follow there's now these pages that introduce you to music.
Yeah.
I'm big on that.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So being independent, part of what you are going uphill against is that labels are dropping $100,000, $200,000 for this new single to infiltrate radio and Spotify, and you can't do that. And that whole payola system is really hard for an independent artist to crack through.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I decided to be in the industry of Teedra Moses and not in the music industry.
What's the difference?
The difference is I have a core fan base. So instead of me spending all my effort trying to gain the world, I'm going to concentrate on who loves me already. So I just kind of leaned into the love. And then the love spreads, you know? They start to love it, and then it's one person at a time. And it's like really slow. But this year, in this 20-year celebration, I'm coming to realize how well that worked.
So, yeah, it's not about let's go out and try to get new fans. It's about let's super serve the current fans.
And they'll trickle new ones.
And new folks will come in with them. That's an interesting strategy.
Because the industry wasn't working for me. So then like me just make an industry of industry of Teedra Moses.
So what does that look like different than if you were a regular label or like a label artist, like so that you're Teedra Moses business and music business? Like
because now I have people in Atlanta. I have a team Teedra in Atlanta. They come to every show. They're going to hold me down. They're going to make sure everybody come to the show. If there's new music out, they're going to send out all these links. We have
But how did you let them know?
Because I'm going directly to them. They getting the information because I'm going directly to my fan. Atlanta, London, New York. We have all these little pockets of people that are like, Teedra, we love you. We just want to help you. They're not getting paid to do this. It's just young people that want to share the music.
Emailing them?
I'm emailing them, and because they're already on the list, and then they're blasting out even more. This is early social media, right? So it wasn't as
How many people are on your mailing list?
I have no idea.
But thousands.
It's been accumulating over 20 years. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, so we just get information to the people. And I have always utilized social media. I'm not someone that has ever had anybody running my social media. My social media is not just about music. It's about me. So therefore, you're not just getting into the music, you're getting into the person. And if you it's one thing to love somebody's music, but when you can relate to that human being, now that's your homegirl.
Right.
You know, that's like the girl you want to date, or your homegirl that you hang out with, or your cousin in your head, or you know what I mean?
It's a whole different level when it's, I like that person's music, so I like that product that you created, versus I like that person. Yeah. And even if I don't like their 4th or 5th album, whatever it is, well, I'm still going to check for you the next time because I like you.
You. Exactly. And I didn't try to do that, but I think that's what happened because I communicate with people directly. I'm not here. I'm here. So if you're here, I'm here.
I'm with you. I'll email you.
Yeah. Listen, I've had fans of my music in my hotel room in a cypher smoking weed. Like, I appreciate you, so I treat you like my friend because you are. Because clearly you can relate to what I'm talking about. I'm being very honest here. And so we relate, you know? And I think that thing right there helped me keep going. And like I said, here we are 20 years later on this tour, and I'm coming to realize how well it worked. And it wasn't contrived, Touré. It's just who I am. I'm appreciative. And I'm generous to people that are generous to me, you know?
But this is also, there's a theory, I think it holds for the pigs. Probably taking Luigi.
They got him.
What was the last thing you said?
I said that this thing that I cultivated with the fans is not something I tried to do. Here I am 20 years later, and I'm realizing that it really did work, even though I didn't try to make this bond.
You know,
This is what happens at our
Which is
age.
fine, right? I know, right?
You just lean into it. You just
If
let
I
it happen.
hadn't said the thing about Luigi, I would have held the thought. But you know what I see too? We won't conclude this. If I say I want to text X person and I open the text app and I read a text from somebody else and respond to it, I will have forgotten who did I come to this app.
We only have we've been living long enough to have a lot in our brains, so we only have so much brain space. You know?
Maybe you'll remember it later. You talk a lot about weed. Are you indica or sativa?
I'm more indica. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not as much. I think when I was young, I was more sativa because I had to move around as a wardrobe stylist. I moved around a lot. Indica more for me because it's more creative to me. It triggers me more.
It depresses you. It makes you sleepy. Like it takes you down.
No, not me.
Okay.
I guess different strands maybe affect people differently. Indica for me, it just gets me into a mode of my mind.
Yeah.
It's coming. I can't even hold on to him. Like my engineer be like, okay, I got it. I'm coming because he's not moving fast enough for me to get this stuff out of my head. So that's what I like about indica. It doesn't slump me. You know, it's just I'm high enough. I'm not gonna smoke all this damn sativa trying to get high.
Right.
I'm not gonna smoke 12 joints to get high. I can smoke a half of a indica joint and be high. You know.
Isn't it crazy how it has changed in our lifetime from being illegal and possibly immoral in the beginning of the end of your life and you're a horrible person, and now there's a weed shop everywhere. You're in Miami, weed shops, LA, weed shops everywhere. Wait, is it legal in Miami?
It is medicinally legal, not recreationally.
Do you have to have a card?
Yeah.
So it's kind of restricted.
I smoke weed all over the world freely. It's my God-given right.
I mean, in general. Wait, but it's not legal in New Orleans, is it?
No.
The South is not ready.
We might as well, because we're all doing it. You know?
That's the thing. Everybody's doing it, but then they want to keep it illegal. I think the rest of the country is, the coasts have been much more open to like, okay, fine.
I think they have a problem with letting go of the prisoners that are in prison for this crime. I think that's just my opinion. Especially Louisiana, because they have more prisons than anywhere in the United States of America. Probably anywhere in the world. Oh, yeah. What we do have is prisons, baby. It's a lot of prisons. And so I don't think these states, I don't think they want to let go of those prisoners. You know, I just wish somebody would get into the Oval Office and federally legalize it. And let these people out of prison.
I would like to do that. I'd like to see that. I mean, it's I don't know. It's painful to see non-violent offenders sitting in prison, and yet now that it's legal,
And everybody's making money.
It's kind of weird.
And then they're making it hard for people that were in the position. You know, this is what they were making money off of, and now they have legal background, illegal background, and now you're making it hard for them to get into it legally, which is crazy. That just doesn't make sense. And more than anything, this is a beautiful plant.
It's natural.
You let farmers sell their pills and mess up people's toxins, put the toxins in the bio, mess up people's livers and stuff, you know?
It's not addictive. I don't want everybody to have access to cocaine. That's a very dangerous drug.
That's different.
But marijuana is it's different.
It's not altered. You just I've done it. I've thrown seeds when I used to have weed with seeds.
Plant.
I would throw the seed in the pot. I live in Miami. Next thing I look up, it's a plant growing out. How is that illegal?
It mellows you out.
It's so good. It's good. We're all peaceful. This is what the Indians were smoking when they were passing the peace pipe. Baby. You want peace? Let everybody smoke marijuana.
This is why they sold Manhattan for nothing.
No, they were too happy.
Sure, you want the land? Sure. What? What is the point of this? Oh my God. You worked a lot with one of the giants, Raphael Saadiq. What was it like working with him, this genius?
Very genius. It was early on in my career, and I think that gave me some confidence. When I talk about not having confidence, the way he would just do it, you know? And I'm expecting him to tell me what to do. No, not really. He would just
encourage you.
I guess encourage me in the sense of do it. I would do it. And he was like, I like it. And that wasn't encouraging enough. I remember when I first wrote the record Take Me on my debut album, Complex Simplicity. that we collaborated on. I was originally writing it for Truth Hurts, who was signed to him at the time on his label. And he had given it to me, and I had gone home and I wrote it, and he said, come in and record it. And I remember the music's playing, the guy's recording me, he's just sitting there. He wasn't even paying attention. He was sitting in a high chair. And I just sing the first line, winter's here. Ooh. And he just fell out of his seat, you know, and I kept singing. I came out, he was like, that's amazing. You should keep that. I don't think anybody else should sing it. And that's how that ended up being on my album. And I think that, to me, that's what it was like working with him. Because he was a genius, and I'm looking like, yo, this dude is a genius, and he interacted with me and collaborated with me like I was equal, which made me feel confident.
Wow. That's
clearly
good.
Not equal, let's say that. No, he's a genius, you know, but especially at the time, clearly not equal.
But to get the most out of you as an artist, with him as a producer, he's got to make you feel comfortable. He can't lord over you. Then you go into a shell, and now you're not going to be a great artist for his song. So he's got to like coach you and make you feel comfortable.
Yeah, but I think that's just the way he is. Like, I think he's probably the type of, I don't know for sure, but I think he's just like, either he really loves it or like what I will say, being around him in my early part of my career, I realized that you could just do what you're really good at and be all right. You know what I mean? Like, Raphael has done music really, really well, moving to spaces of scoring films and all these different things, producing for other people. And the compromise of like having to do whack stuff never came. And I realized that with him, like, you don't have to conform to do, and he does well at it, you know what I mean? And I realized that with Raphael, I can do what I love to do and do it at the quality level I like and be okay.
Talk to a lot of people on this show about what it means to be Black and how that shows up in the work for them. And like, so much of your history is about Black culture. And but I'm curious how you feel about that, about what being Black means to you and how it shows up in your work.
That's my superpower. Being
Black.
Yeah. That's my superpower. Being a Black woman at that. That's my superpower because soul is innately in me. And I'm from New Orleans too. Soul is just innately in me. Like, just the way I talk, the way I walk. Don't nobody's hip sway like a Black woman.
Yeah, right.
There is no one. And that motion is a rhythm. And that's running through my blood, you know? Like, I don't think I would be as good at anything, being a mother, being a singer, being a friend, without my Blackness. I think the core of what makes me, and I don't know if this has come off arrogant, I don't mean it that way, the core of what makes me as fly as I am in anything is being Black.
Yes. Well, just all the things you learned and grew and took from the community.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Black culture is the thing that makes America fly.
Yeah.
It makes America, you know, cool
Yeah.
and hip. And so, yeah, all the things that you have taken in from all the Black culture you've been part of, like.
And we witness, like, as children, we witness, especially as a woman, we witness older women and we watch how they are. We listen to their conversations. This is all infusing us, you know? It's like innately in you to, even if it's just in your mind, to tell yourself you that bitch. Because that's just what you have seen. Even women that are like docile, they got moments where they look in the mirror and they see that Black woman and they feel that thing. I don't know if it's the ancestors moving through you or whatever, but it's a thing. It's a thing. And it's not something I can even put words on that makes me know that I am special. This is my superpower because I am Black. Because how other people look and say, oh, Black people have gone through this. Gone through. That's the damn word there. Gone through. We have made it to other sides. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for being as super as we are, despite all that we've gone through. Oh, Black people don't do this. Black people don't unite. I hate to hear people that are not Black talk about how Black people hate on each other. You have no clue.
Right.
You've never lived in my neighborhood.
Right.
You've never been in my family.
Right.
We champion each other. I can be walking down the street. Say I'm walking down the street in this outfit today. A Black girl's gonna look at me and say, girl, you look good. Oh, sister, you look. This is what we do for each other. We light each other up because we can see the superpower in each other. You understand what I'm saying? I think there's an envy of this superpower.
Mm-hmm.
I revel in that envy. I genuinely do.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Hey, if you like what you saw today, be sure to check out more Toure Show content right here.
Power your dreams.
Don't forget to click that subscribe button for more Toure Show content every week.